Okay, so today is November 1st, 2021. Okay, I'm going to put this first, and I'm going to talk about this for a second, and then I'm going to put on me, and then I'm going to talk, right? And then I'm going to upload the camera onto my computer, and then whatever videos I have behind this, I'll just add on behind what I'm talking about, okay? So that I can get on to the next video after the fact. So before we do that, I just want to bring to the attention, I honestly don't know how to pronounce it outside of maybe the English way, which would be Cara. Cara. Okay? And I'm going to read just the first paragraph, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay? So the Cara, or Kada, is a thick metal ring or bracelet, okay, usually worn on the hands or wrists of men and women in Punjab, India. Now remember, I live in a Punjabi community, okay? It is a religious, it's like little India out here, all right? It is a religious bracelet which most Sikhs wear. Sikhs are the ones that wear turbans, okay? Mostly made of iron. And I think steel too, okay? I thought it would have been made out of silver, honestly, but it's not. Anyway, the Kada has different design styles and is usually used to honor a religious figure. Kara is worn by Sikhs who have been initiated into the Khalsa. We have a lot of Khalsa schools out here. Well, I don't know if we have a lot, but I know we have Khalsa schools out here, okay? That would be considered an independent school. All right. It is one of the 5 Kakaras, or 5 Ks, external article of faith, that identify a Sikh as dedicated to their religious order. The Kara was instituted by the 10th Sikh Guru, Gobind Singh, at the Balasahi Amit Sanchar in 1699. Guru Gobind Singh Jr. explained, "He does not recognize anyone else except me, not even the bestowed of charities, performance of merciful acts, ostracies," I don't think I'm pronouncing that word right, "and restraint on pilgrim stations. The perfect light of the Lord illuminates his heart. Then consider him as the Immaculate Kausala." Yeah. Okay, hold on a minute. Just hold on. Okay, we're going to listen to this under the Fair Use Act for a minute, okay?
Nations General Assembly, the International Chamber of Shipping, and other industry groups warned of a global transport system collapse if governments do not restore freedom of movement to transport workers and give them priority to receive vaccines recognized by the World Health Organization. We got trucker shortages here. We got them in the UK. The idea that you will be able to just float in this system and things are going to go like normal, like you can walk to the grocery store and there are your strawberries, is a joke. It's not true. People need to start being responsible for themselves because they are telling us the system is collapsing. But I got one more for you from timcast.com. 82% of Americans are scared that supply chain issues will ruin their life plans. Oh, all right then. 82% of people already know this. Well, here's an option. You can get 100 acres in New Hampshire for like 200 grand. And then just start getting to it. Start working.
The Free State Project is Social Security for people who don't believe in Social Security.
So what do you think is going to happen what's the ultimate goal? Free State, New Hampshire secedes, or what?
So the project takes no stance on secession. The idea is, again, just get people here. I think this is and I'm now giving my personal opinion. Like, I'm totally cool with secession. I would love it if it happens. I think there's a huge opportunity to simply push nullification, right? Like nullification gets done a lot. What's the most successful anarchist or libertarian movement in the United States? Anyone want to venture a guess?
No, what is it?
The Amish.
Yeah?
Yeah. The Amish don't pay Social Security.
What, really?
Yep.
Why not?
Because the 200,000 of them got together and said, screw you. We're not doing it.
Wow.
The Amish don't have to participate in the draft. I mean, I think New Hampshire could be be provided in how they work. I mean,
Okay. So, you heard that, right? That's not the first time somebody said that we're coming into a global food crisis or supply chain, right? Everything's going into some kind of a lockdown. It's seizing up. Okay? You don't notice it per se, right? Because the people who run the stores are pretty good at spreading things out and making things look like it's business as usual. But you have to remember, a lot of these stores, they operate on a 3 or 4 day supply of the staples, right? They replenish them every 3 to 4 days. Anyway, okay, so get back to what I was talking about initially. All right. I have so much to say and I don't know how to say it, but I just kind of want to say it. Okay. So, we know that I ordered the cheese. Let me get focused here, okay? Those 4 cans at $82 a can, okay? It cost me $326 or something like that, okay? I'm so excited, right? I got my cheese, right? Got my pipeline of cheese. So, okay, the cans come, people. You'll see that after this because I'm pretty sure I recorded it, right? Because I was choked. Okay, you can't put dented cans up for long-term food storage. We knew I was going to open the 1 can that I initially got, test the product before I bought more, but we know we can't find cheese products, especially in Canada, in bulk, right? Unless, of course, you buy those cans, and it's like Russian roulette with them because they are sold at third party, because they're, created in the United States. And nobody out here is making them, in Canada, that is, right? So, anyway, I had to send them back, right? So I go out today because I was told I had to phone Amazon. Amazon got involved. Company called me up. Well, they sent me an email, right? Blah, 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 and sent me a little sticker and said, drop it off at a FedEx drop-off, okay? So I go to do that today at Staples. All right. We'll get to this in a minute, right? I go do that, right? I go to Staples because they have a drop-off there for FedEx. Okay, but when I get there, I'm told that I can't drop it off there because it's just a drop-off location. It's not the actual FedEx building, and I need to go there because it's a so-called food product, even though it's in number 10 cans. And I'm choked, people, because first of all, I took a taxi there with this big-ass box with these 4 heavy cans, right, to get my money back, right? I'm not keeping them. That's not what I bought them for. I bought them so I could put them up and not, I could have them in 6 months or a year or in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or up to 10 years. I didn't have to use them right away. That was the point of buying them. Okay? Whether I needed them in 6 months from now because there was no more fucking cheese around town, or whether I needed them in 6 years from now, it didn't matter, right? The point was they were supposed to be shelf stable and they weren't. Because I phoned a company directly in the United States, and I phoned a different company that also does number 10 cans in the United States. They said they can't do business in Canada because of customs, and it's too difficult and it's so complicated, but they want to, right? Because obviously Canadians are wanting to buy their product, right? And the Argosy Farms, I guess if somebody wants to sell things, they just go off and buy a bunch of shit, and then how it gets to Canada, I don't know, and then they resell it. But obviously they're selling damaged products. That happened with that dehydrator too, people. This is what I'm finding with Amazon. I think some of this stuff people are returning, and then somehow, some way, people are reselling it. The dehydrator, okay, I managed to work around that, right? But those cans, forget it. So anyway, all right. And I'm like, no, that ain't happening because, I got like 2 other appointments I have to go to today. Okay, you're gonna see how this bracelet all comes into fray with this, okay? Okay, because I'm in Little Punjab now, right? Remember, I live in Little India, okay? And I'm not disparaging the ethnic heritage, right? I'm not, people. I'm not, okay? If anything, it would be more like I'm trying to put some, fire to the step, like little pep, put a little fire to the pep, right? Just put some pep to the step, right? Spark some, oomph, right? Because of the apathy that's around me in terms of just the general population, okay? Because what happened was, you're just going to have to go with me on this one, okay? We'll get back to whatever I was talking about with FedEx. Because what happened was, now, you see, you have to remember, I live in a very multicultural community, okay? We got the Muslims next door. Apparently there's another one around here who's friend with the Punjabi that came to my house asking if, he could buy it. And I'm like, well, I don't think my landlady is planning on selling it, but, I'll give her your card, right? And then he started asking me questions and through, just chit-chat. And he was a handsome guy too, right? Young and strong and, buffed, right? And he's like, just hanging on my doorstep, just chit-chatting away. And we started talking politics and stuff. And obviously he's interested in this house, and I'm trying to tell him, like, because he says, well, what about those people across the street? And I'm like, well, Debbie just died, and I guess, her niece inherited the house, and they moved in, so I highly doubt that they're going to be selling anytime soon. And those fellas across there, right, there are a bunch of Punjabi young men in there, that I know that person's not selling their house. This guy over here, I don't know, maybe he's the Muslim. I've always thought he was a Punjabi, right? Because over here is Punjabi, right? And in my house is Punjabi, right? Because he said he had a Muslim friend that lived on this block that just sold his house, and he suggested that maybe Mr. Grump next door over there was the Muslim who sold the house. And I'm like, well, no, as far as I know, he's a Punjabi. He goes, well, how do you know? And I'm like, well, I don't really know, right? He's kind of like brown, right? He kind of looks like you, right? He goes, I'll tell you a secret. I said, well, what's that secret? He says, do you really want to know the secret, how you can tell a Punjabi? He's telling me this on my doorstep, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, I want to know. I mean, I know that they wear the turbans, right? That's Punjabi, right? They got the long beards, some of them, okay, whatever, right? But I guess there was a secret. So he goes, well, he goes like this. And I'm, yeah, okay, well, what's that, right? And he has this silver bracelet on. And he goes, that's how you can tell. And I'm like, okay, why? Like, what does it mean, right? Like, it's connected to their religion. All right. And I'm like, cool, right? Okay, now I know. So, anyway, I'm always looking now, right? I am, people, because I'm looking for the fucking warriors. Because I was reading on a different page the other night that, well, we already know there's warriors within the Punjabi community through Sikhism. We know that. They like swords. I have my own swords, right? Even if it's in theory. I have real swords, but in theory, it represents, it's symbolism for warriorism. Well, this is kind of the same thing, right? And then it branches off into what I just read. Okay. But in the light of Sign of the Times, it's metal. And, like, I know that the Punjabis are very Borg-like. And that's what makes them successful as a collective. Okay? In terms of wealth building. I mean, you can't get any better at that, building of wealth than what you can get from the Punjabi community as a collective, right? And so I admire them for that, right? The metal thing for me, I mean, like when I went to Staples today, everybody's a minority that works there. Like when you go out, you running mostly into I don't want to say immigrants, because they're not all immigrants. Many of them were born here. They just look like they came here from, like, right? Some are, some aren't, right? You can't distinguish who's an actual immigrant as who comes from immigrant descent that was born here. In other words, their great grandparents or their, like, you know, parents or just grandparents came, right? And then, you know, okay, so anyway, I'm at Staples, right? And I have this security guard running around following me because I'm getting a little huffy with this shit, right? Demanding to speak to the management. Like, how dare they tell me to take it to a FedEx drop off and they're not going to take it, as if I've got money to be going and spending $50 just to get to the main FedEx office on highway number 10 on 54th Street or whatever the heck it was, which was like miles and miles away from where I was, right? And it was only one location that I could take it to because of dented cans that were classified as food, right? I was getting choked, and I like, there's got to be a compromise in here somewhere, right? So in the meantime, I've got this young man that could be a Punjabi following me around because he's security, as I'm, you know, asking to speak to management, to get in touch with, to whoever they need to get in touch with so that I can leave that box there and go about my business, right? And anyway, through it all, I ended up, you know, having to deal with them, FedEx on the phone. In the end, they ended up having a FedEx Express truck, because I asked them to come straight to freaking Staples and pick it up outside, because I ended up getting kicked out of Staples because I was so agitated with the whole situation, right? And so anyway, the young man, okay, because this is important, people, right? So the young man, he's following me around, right? Because I'm trying to, like, figure out what the hell is going on here. And I'm not going to be spending no $50 just to go drop off a damn box, right? When I can simply leave it there, right? And as I'm on the phone, you know, there's a FedEx truck that comes, so I put the phone down, I run outside, I say, hey, I got this box, I'm on the phone with your company, they're trying to get somebody to pick it up, will you come talk? Oh, no, he yelled at me, and he speeds off, right? Okay, so I get back inside, I'm on the phone, right, you know, and I'm on hold, and then I tell this, you know, this young man, but I'm looking, right, I'm looking to see if he has, right, and I said, well, do you have that? Or something? I said, right? And you know what? He had it, people. He showed me. I said, oh, okay. So you're like a warrior, right? That's, you know, because I already read up on it, right? It's not just simply wear a bracelet and, you know, give homage to your pastor, right? It goes deeper than that, right? Because they have their, it's not 10 commandments, but they you know, they have their doctrine to live by in terms of that good life, right? Okay, so anyway, okay, so he's like, right, and I'm like, okay, well, you're a warrior, you know, in heart, right? So, like, you know, and I'm like, you know, I wonder, I came out really kind of quite candid with it, because in the sign of the times, people, in light of what our governments are trying to inject into people's bodies through an analog, right, that is still up for debate in terms of, it hasn't gone to court to the point where the people that are running the drugs are being held to account to what it is that they're putting into people's arms, okay? A drug dealer is a drug dealer is a drug dealer, okay? Right? And if you're pumping shit into people's arms, then whatever's being pumped into the arms should be made in terms of information, should be made available to the public so that they have informed choice as to whether they want to become an addict to it. Because ultimately, that's what it's going to turn into because of the psychological part. Not only are you getting the masking, with the hippocampus being deprived of oxygen, to which probably a good 92 to 95% of the population is completely oblivious to, in terms of they're not even aware that it's happening. Okay? Right? And then factor in just the cortisol level of shit flying around in their head, because, you know, they can't really figure out why they have to wear this mask and stand in this spot and, you know, and do this. And okay, so there's that in there, right? Oh my Lord, where am I going with this? So anyway, I lost my track. There was a point for that, okay? So anyway, it was determined that he was a Punjabi, a practicing Sikh, even though he didn't wear his turban, and that he was connected to something, but it was done through metal. And then I reminded him, in between my phone call with FedEx, that he needs to do his research, get up on BitChute and start looking at some videos. Seriously, I said that. Do your own research. You're a young person, you know, right? And be aware of what's inside these analogs. And I mentioned the word graphene. That's all I said, right? Because I didn't want to pressure him, but just with his, like, he was completely unaware, people, completely unaware. So I didn't want to scare him. That wasn't my intent. I wanted to inform him, and I wanted him to do his own research so that he could protect himself, right? And if it meant being a warrior while he did that, being that it's in his genetics or through symbolism, you know, you need to draw on it. Because here I am. I have no mask, people. I have a mask exemption. I bring this, I don't know, this little plastic thing, right? And, you know, anyway, you know, so that right there makes me stick out like a sore thumb, because everybody, everywhere I went, everybody were wearing masks. It's pathetic. And that's what I told that young man when I was on the phone, because he told me to calm down my voice, right? Because I was, you know, my voice can travel, right? Accused me of yelling. I said, you haven't heard me yell. This is not yelling. Okay, I need to speak to the manager. I don't got time to fool around. Don't say that's yelling, because that's not yelling. This is fucking yelling. That's what yelling is. Can you not understand what yelling is? That's yelling. Talking loud, being assertive is not yelling. There's a difference. Anyway, I asked him, you got it on the outside of your body, the metal. Interesting how it's steel and iron. Isn't that some of the components or atoms or bits of this and bits of that that's coming up through microscopic examinations in other countries that happen to take an interest in knowing what's going into the general population's bloodstream, in terms of AKA doing their job to protect the public from harmful substances, right? Because if it's that simple on the outside, is it going to be that simple on the inside? And I didn't come out. I think you can understand what I'm saying, because I'm trying to like tippy-toe around the subject here. Or maybe it's just too hard to put it in a one sentence or two sentence, you know, right? Like, if it's that easy to bind yourself to metal in order to connect with someone that kind of looks like you, right? With the same principles, basically. If you're willing to do that for principle, are you open to having it happen to you on the inside in light of what's out in the real world if you did your research? Right? Having an open debate is a good thing, people. Right? There is no open debate. It's all one-sided in terms of, I told that young man that everybody in that store was lithless. Lithless. You know what listless means? It means non-active, kind of drowsy, just doesn't participate, just kind of in a bubble, contained to itself, right? Doesn't, right? Everybody was slow moving, right? Just null and void of vibration, right? Just being like a blanket, walking slow, talking slow, if you can even hear what they're saying through their masks, right? He didn't like that. Because I said, oh, everybody in this store is listless. I said, yeah, listless. Just lethargic, right? No energy, nothing. And I'm like, yeah, well, think about it, right? I'm just letting you know, right? And, obviously he wanted me that, well, not him, but just whatever. People are just being so cocooned, like being in your own little cocoon, right? In a bowl of jelly. That's how slow everybody was moving. Okay? In terms of that aura. And, I ended up getting extremely, okay, so this was going on for like half an hour, 45 minutes, trying to figure this shit out, well, for at least a good half an hour, all right? Trying to figure this stuff out with FedEx on the phone. And then this little manager came, this woman came, and she looking brown too, like a Punjabi, right? You don't know, right? Right? She could be from somewhere else, right? But I see she's got one on too. Now, I didn't know the women wear it. I thought it was just the men, right? And she like, you need to pipe down, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know why you guys just can't, right? Like, can't I just leave the box here? We got the, express coming now, and right? And you, right? I mean, it's right. Why advertise that you have a drop box if you don't take the shit, right? Whose fault is it? Anyway, I say, oh, you got one too, right? Because she caught me talking to this young man, right? Trying to, wake him up to a few things, right? In terms of, okay, well, you're a warrior, so you go off and do your research because, sure, you got it on the outside, but do you really want it on the inside, right? That's kind of how I was talking to him. He knew exactly what I was talking about, people, okay? Because I told him. He needs to do his research, right? And I gave him a hint as to in what direction to look for, right? In terms of what quite possibly could be going into his veins at the hands of somebody else that probably doesn't give a shit about him. At least I care, right? I know it doesn't look like I care, right? Because I'm like, you're stalking me. Why are you stalking me, right? Like, go away, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay. In the end, though, and then with the woman, I said, oh, yeah, so you got one too, right? Oh, well, that's personal. Not here to talk about that. And I'm like, well, why not? Why? You ashamed? Well, you should be proud, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to talk about that? Right? And I'm like, yeah, well, Anyway, she I don't know. I don't even know why she got herself in the middle of the mix other than to show me she was one of them with her bracelet. Right? Because at the end of the day, she was not a warrior. I told her too. I said, oh, you just want to boss me around. You trying to, be an authoritarian here, right? I'm on the phone with FedEx on hold, right? Having this, right? Like I'm so fucking annoyed by this time, people. I've been on the phone for like over a half an hour, and now I've got this little Punjabi woman coming up trying to boss me around while I'm on the phone on hold, right? Getting a pickup outside their fucking doorstep because they refuse to take the fucking box even though they've already had 2 ass trucks come by. Okay? Like, how does that make any sense? I told them it was dropped off by freaking FedEx. And then she telling me I can't talk to that young man about what's on his wrist because it's private. No, it's not private. It's on the fucking internet. It belongs to a religious group, right? That should wear it, quote unquote, with pride. And that's what I was trying to instill in that young man, because after they kicked me out and had me sit out in their fucking steps, Staples that is, right? Because the woman was power tripping. She was, don't come back. You're not allowed back in here no more. I said, fine. I don't really give a shit. It's a shit company, Staples, if that's the case, right? Because, right, there's absolutely no reason for what happened. So now I'm sitting outside on the step, out like on the cement, on the curb, waiting for FedEx truck number 3 to come by. Well, I was actually, one truck had already come in. And then, that young man every now and then would come out. He told me I needed to phone up Amazon and just tell him it was a big fucking hassle, and maybe they would, he kind of felt bad for me after a while because he knew I wasn't out to get him. He knew I was trying to tell him something in a roundabout way to I told him, I said, I feel so sorry for your generation. I really do. I told him he needed to get those fucking swords out because I got my swords too. Being a warrior is more than just that. Right? I told him that, people, when I was sitting on the freaking steps. Right? Because he asked me, why would I buy 4 cans of cheese for $323? Well, that's a lot of money. Why would you do that? Right? And I'm like, well, because, it's called food storage. Right? Right? So, right, whether I used it in 6 months or whether I used it in 6 years, right? Or whether I used it for bartering. Or maybe I'd give it away 1 can and save somebody's life. How about that? Right? And so I'm out on the steps, right, along the cement, right, with my box. And then it's 1 ton fucking FedEx ground came by. It was so stupid, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, great, you can take this box so I can get on with my business because I have places to go, right? I had it all planned. Oh, no, this is ground, and you got express, and we can't take it. And oh boy, I was getting mad by this point. I started crying after a while. I was sitting on the steps, fucking crying, right? So, on the cement, right? I was so frustrated, right? So anyway, he'd come back out and he's, didn't they, and I'm like, no. And this guy with this 1 ton ground, he brought out this dolly. He goes inside Staples and he grabs a box that's half the size of my box and he wheels it out on this dolly and puts it into a 1 ton fucking truck. I mean, and I'm sitting on the cement, people, with my box waiting for FedEx to show up. Now that's FedEx truck number 2 in the last hour and a bit, okay? So I'm sitting there, and this, young man, right, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to you. And I'm like, yeah, well, there you go, right? Right? They end up kicking out somebody else from that store, a guy with no mask and a guy with mask, but the guy with the mask went with his friend and said, to hell with them, right? And eventually the express did come in another 1 ton truck that was practically empty inside. But I told that young man, and this is the point, right? If you're going to wear something that calls you to be a warrior, sooner or later you're going to have to stand up and fight. And a lot of the fight is in the brain, right? In terms of theory, that kind of stuff, right? Just because you have swords doesn't mean you have to go out but you're in the fight. That's why I told him, if you're going to wear it, get ready to pull out your swords, right? I've got mine. Don't call yourself a warrior unless you're willing to fight, okay? That woman that had that bracelet on, she was a pussy. And I told him that. I said, you're a warrior. That one inside there, she's a pussy. Okay? She thinks she's a warrior, but she ain't no warrior. She was a bully who got off on kicking out a vulnerable person, basically. She, putting me on the run, right, with my box of cheese. And for what purpose? Where that young man, he might save himself and save his family, people. And that's all that was, you know. So I'm always looking now. And then I went, oh, where did I go? On the way home, I stopped off at Nestor's, and there was a Punjabi man, an elderly man, okay, with his turban, his gray hair, a little bit, right? You know, he's, you know, been around for a long time. And I'm looking, and he has nothing. So it's not that they always wear it, okay? But it's to help cement their faith and to be prepared for when you're called as a warrior. But the thing is, people are being so dumbed down right now, people, okay? They're like little walking cocoons in a bowl of jelly. That's how fast they're walking, because they're stuck in between the jelly. They can only go so fast. Right? And I feel sad, especially for the young people. Right? I do. And I told that to that young man. And that's why I told him, if you want to classify yourself as a warrior, then you better be prepared to fucking fight. Okay? So hopefully I saved somebody today. That's the only thing that I can, maybe I reached one person. I'm like, you just, right, I felt like after I had to reach, if I just reached one person, then I did a good thing. Right? Now, Pastor Granny got lucky because it was a group of Punjabi young men over there who gave her 5 to 6 pallets that she needs for what she does over there. So we're going to give credit where credit is due. And those Punjabi young men over there, I always say when I talk to them, I say, you need food now. It's okay. We're good. And I say, well, if you ever need it, right, we've got the pipeline. Okay? We've got the pipeline. And we're laughing, eh? In the meantime, I just want to say that they gave Pastor Granny, and I said, well, now we need the kitchen. She asked for the pallets. They finally agreed, whoever owned them over there, to let her have 5 to 6 pallets. That's exactly what she needs. But of course, I put the order in for the kitchen because we've got the pipeline. Okay? But of course, I'm looking for the real warriors in the mix, right? Okay, people, so this is now September 29th, 2021. It's about almost 9 o'clock in the morning. It's raining, so I'm kind of like in the kitchen. And this is a YouTube video because I'm in the process of uploading a video onto BitChute that I haven't and I will not put up on YouTube. So there's that hiccup, right? So in the meantime, I don't know. I gotta figure out a way to get 1,500 calories into Amari, in addition to 4 of his drinks, which works out to be, I don't know. Well, hold on a minute. Okay, and then 4 of these, I can't find my magnifying glass, people, and honest to God, I can't see this. But maybe if I go real close. So, in terms of calories, because we know I'm calorie hunting, right? From what I can see here, it's approximately 50 calories times 4, 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14. So another 1,400 plus 1,500 in food. So they're wanting me to get 2,900 calories into Amari every day. That's a lot of calories. he can only eat so much at one time, people. You know, there has to be time for the gut to be able to digest food. Okay? Anyway, so we know that I bought a whole bunch of beans. So we're going to start with 1 cup of these beans. So I'm going to soak these for a couple of hours. There's one little kidney bean, one little red kidney bean. So I'm going to rinse these off, stick through them. You can see they're looking really nice. And I'm going to soak them for a few hours, probably in a different bowl. Right? And then I'm going to take them to a cast iron frying pan. No, sorry. I'm tired, people. Cast iron pot. Okay, now this one I've never used, and if I did, I've only used it once, but I don't ever remember using this. I bought it though, right, for the rocket stove. Actually, I bought it for the solar oven, which I haven't made yet. But the thing about cast iron is, as you cook your food, especially if you're cooking tomatoes in it, it leaches the iron into your food, which is good for your diet. Okay, this is my true and blue little cast iron pot that I love, but I don't think it's going to be big enough for what I want to try and do here, because I think I'm going to try and cook some chicken with this. I just have to go find some chicken, and it might be better if this is, because this is bigger, right? I wanted to show you these. Okay, these are waffle makers that I still have to wash and take off the outer wax, which I haven't done yet. Right? Anyway, I'll work on that in the next, over the week. When I bought these, you know, reading through comments, somebody suggested boiling them. So I'm going to get an old pot out and I'm going to start boiling them. And that will help to boil off the wax that preserves the cast iron from rusting out. Whereas this one I bought already pre-seasoned, and you can tell by the color, right? Completely 2 different colors. Okay? And this one is, I really love this pot. So, but we're going to start with the beans, because I have to, people, I don't know. I have to, it's so dark in here with my eyes. Anyway, I work through it, right? I have to write a book for Amari. I really do, in terms of menu, in terms of what types of foods provide 1,500 calories to Amari without constipating him, because the majority of foods that give off the most calorie is meat, nuts, beans, and a few vegetables. And then, of course, we've got our butter and our milk and, you know, those types of things. But you have to pay attention to, when you eat something, how it can convert to sugar, right? Which provides energy, but I don't know. So anyway, I'm listening to something here from doctors that are on the other side of the debate, right? In regards to providing information to the general public that is being suppressed. So as I work in here, I'm going to listen to that. But this video is a YouTube video mainly around working on a book for Amari, right? And building in, I guess you could call them staples, right? Where, you know, because I have to give Amari a diverse food groups and in extreme large amounts, I think. I don't know. Right? Because these things in themselves, people, like they constipate them, because you put this in a bottle and within an hour or so it starts to get gummy. Like I'm going to show you, right? and then it really gels up, and it ends up constipating him, and I don't know. So anyway, I'm working on Amari's gut health. Okay, I'm starting fresh. I don't know how to write a book, but I'm going to have to try and write a book. So we'll call it, well, I don't know what we're going to call it, but we'll call what I'm doing today the first bean recipe, because I'm going to try and figure out the calorie count. So if it's 1 cup of beans, okay, well, 1 ounce, how many ounces? I bought 2 weight scales, right? Tisha took Amari to the feeding team yesterday, right? And they wanted to see how he eats, right? So I mashed up his food. Now the night before we had hamburger, right? Like meatloaf. If you go into BitChute and watch my other video there that I just uploaded, you'll see me and hear me munching on meatloaf, right? Anyway, the day I made it, there's Amari's meatloaf, there's Amari's zucchini, right? There's Amari's sweet potato, right? And a little bit of ketchup, and I think that's all there was there, in terms of 3 food groups. And tomato. There was a little bit of tomato in there, fresh tomato, like cooked, right? Because that's what we were eating, right? And I mashed it up, but I didn't blend it all up together like if it was like a cream soup. And I know how to feed him people, right? So, he just gobbled it up. Okay. Anyway, they wanted to see, the next day you have to bring food. So I took that same food group, but I mashed it up. And because we were kind of rushing, because I was warming it up because I wanted it warm, right? There was a couple of zucchini seeds in there, right? And I said that to Tisha, just be aware, right? I didn't get all the zucchini seeds out, right? Anyway, she goes, takes Amari to go for his appointment, and all the women are watching, right? And Tisha goes to feed him, and the first time she puts it in his mouth, he's right? So, one of the women that, has been there from the beginning, Tisha said the look on her face was classic. Like, she just went, right? Because, like I said, you have to have that heart of steel feeding Amari sometimes, right? Because you just never know. But you learn to, like the night before, right? It wasn't even all blended up, and it was actually more chunkier than what they got when he went, right? But to make it convenient and to not have any mishaps, I kind of mashed it all together, and, I let Tisha taste it. I tasted it. It tasted good, but, so anyway, then she goes to feed him the second spoon, right? But she gets distracted, so as she puts it in his mouth, he does it again. Only this time, it was one of those zucchini seeds, right? And I'm like, oh my God, Tisha, So anyway. So I'm really up for this challenge, people. It's not about just stuffing Amari with calories. Let me just turn this off for a second, okay?
There has been no earnest effort to try to treat Americans in some type of high-quality, well-funded, randomized trial to prevent hospitalization and death.
Oh, God, I'm moving like a snail. I really want to hear that later. I'm talking over it, so I'm not hearing everything that's being said there. So anyway, I don't know anything about calories other than, okay. Oh, where's that book? So, of course, Tisha comes home, right? I might have to stop this video and upload it and then start fresh again, because I'm going into obviously I'm going to try and make a meal today and see if I can guesstimate the amount of calories that's going to end up on Amari's plate because of whatever it is that I made. That is the main mission for the day. Okay, I can't rush with it because I'm learning, right? But I am going to be jarring up the non-fat milk powder to get these jars in that box out of here, right? Because I've got the chia seeds coming. Anyway, so, Tisha gets home and she tells me all that happened, right? And I'm like, well, gee, thanks, Tisha. Like, what does that say about me leaving zucchini seeds in the food that I give you to take, right? But I specifically said to Tisha, pay attention because I may have missed one or two. And sure enough, I did, and it just so happened the second time she went to go give Amari a bite, right, there was a zucchini seed in there that made him gag. So she ended up just kind of like, whatever. And then when she got home and started feeding him again, like, he just gobbled it up, people. Like, right? It's like... So I just told her, like, I have to write a book. I have to. Because... I don't know. It's just, what's going to happen when I'm gone, right? If I can meet the mark in terms of the calorie count and make it where it's, for me, I would say digestible and nutritional, right? It's not like simply just stuffing him with 1,500 calories and hoping it's going to come out on the other end. It doesn't work like that. Right? And where do you get those 1,500 calories, right? Because it's not like you'd have to feed them. I don't know. So anyway, I'm on a book hunt now. And thank God, people, I have a lot of books in this house. Like, seriously, man. You don't know, okay? I guess maybe subconsciously all these years, maybe that's why I bought them. Because subconsciously, deep down inside, I knew that at some point I'd draw on them for general information. But I went back to a book that I've owned even before I had my kids. So this book is extremely old, right? And there's a story behind this book, but I'm not going to tell that story right now. We'll tell that story another day. But this is my book. It went on a travel, right? Oh, maybe I'll tell you the story now. Tisha's brother, back in the day, this is 1973, people. Okay, this is how old this book is. Go on to my website and you can see that I made reference to this book under the lunch program trust account. Because I believe in this book. Anyway, this is what it looks like. How I know it's my book is because it has two covers. Literally. You see? And back in the day when I lived in that little shanty shack, Tisha's brother was a vegetarian. And of course we know about vegetarians sometimes not getting enough quote-unquote nutrients, right, in terms of minerals and calories and all that other crap. So I said, look, here's a book that gives you the nutrient, mineral, and vitamin count and calorie count. That's why I pulled it out yesterday to see if it can give the calorie count to vegetables, and it does, right? Which, on par, are very, very low in terms of calories compared to nuts, and meat and eggs and that kind of thing, right? Beets are high in calories. And I came across something else that's high in calories. But the beets are high in calories because of the sugar. Right? It's the sugar that creates the calories. So, anyway, I gave it to him. I lent it to him, right? Because I wanted him to, get right. And then a few years later, I said, "Can I have my book back? Are you done with it?" And he said, "Oh, I don't have it anymore." And honest to God, I was so sad, people. And long story short, I moved in here. Years went by. I was doing the Value Village thing, and then eventually I did find another book like this without a cover. I bought it, but then as I was going through my travels, because there should be another one like this in the house. As I was going through my travels over the years, right, I came across my book that I had lent to Tisha at the Value Village. So when she came home, the first book that I pulled out, people, yesterday, looking, scrounging around the house, was for this book. Right? Because, you know, I'm on a mission. And, you know, so that's what I'm going to be working on somehow, some way. Even though I'm under extreme stress with what my government is doing in terms of misinformation. If you want to see that video that I just did, you can go on to BitChute and find it below this video. Because I upload these videos onto YouTube, and then whatever I upload onto YouTube, I do upload to BitChute, because not everybody on BitChute uses YouTube. I learned that just by being banned from YouTube. Right? The chances of going to YouTube to go watch a video when you've got plenty to choose from on BitChute, you know, is slim. So I upload most of my videos on both channels, but when they become controversial, like the one I just did, but is actually very serious, and this is why I want to listen to these doctors in the United States that have a difference of opinion than what the bubble of BC, British Columbia, Canada operates under. You know, I'm still in the real world, right? I'm still being told what I'm supposed to be doing, where, you know, it's not easy. You have to have a heart of steel, right? And you got to get kind of, I don't know, creative or something, right? Because ultimately, I really do want to wean Amari off of these things. Now, there's another drink that he likes too. It's a different, it's similar, but it's, right? 4, in my opinion, is too much because of the way it gumps up it just gumps up. It doesn't digest. And their solution for that gumping is this stuff, right? But this stuff is made for adults, and it's recommended not to be using it on, well, you know, I mean, what else are they going to do, right? I'm not disparaging it. I'm just saying. So eventually I'd like to try and wean them off of these things if I can, right? But so anyway, I want to have a good day, okay? Right? Easy peasy video, nothing too stressful, right? Something that, you know, I don't know how to write a cookbook, but I guess I have to write down the ingredients. Maybe I bought I bought 2 weight scales specifically to work around this issue with Amari, okay? So maybe I should bring out the weight scales today, and I'll show you, right? And we'll just look at them and see how they operate together. Maybe I should be weighing how much 1 cup of these great northern beans are in terms of weight, right? Because they're basing it on 1 ounce. Is that 1 ounce dry, 1 ounce cooked? I don't know, people. Because you would think that 1 ounce would change in weight after it's been cooked because it would absorb moisture. So for 1 ounce, 28 grams, the calorie count is 96. So hold on a minute. Okay, so then you have to factor in fluid ounces, or I guess 1 ounce in actual weight. This is a shot glass, right? See, right there is 1 ounce. and then it goes to 1.5. Oh, I can't see. Probably, I can't, honestly, people, I can't see that. That's like so dark to me, you don't know. Anyway, you can see, right? And then here's another one. So, what constitutes 1 ounce? I don't know. And after it's all swelled up and everything, is that too much for Amari to eat? Now, you have to remember, I'm going to be introducing beans into the diet now. Like, I'm going out of my way to make a menu for Amari specifically designed for his needs, knowing what I know in terms of feeding him all the time, right? With that heart of steel. Right? So I have to introduce the beans kind of slowly. I can't just start stuffing him up with beans. That would be counterproductive. But we're going to start with this. So hold on. Okay, people. So I actually ordered 4 cans of this cheese powder. I know it's upside down right now, but believe it or not, people, I'm going to have to send them back. I am so upset. Like, you can't imagine. I paid $326 for all 4 cans at $82 a can because we know what's happening in the economy. This is the one that I got for $49. Okay, now if you notice, it's nice and tight in there. There is no air. Okay, but when you come into these ones, watch. Do you see that? Okay, same thing here, watch. Okay, do you see that? Not so much this one. However, do you see this? Okay, do you see this? Right? Do you see this? Okay. This one doesn't seem to be that way, but you can push on it. Okay, it's moving. Can you see? This is the one for $49. It's not moving. Okay, so this one is good. This one is shelf stable. These ones are not. Alright. So I have to send them back because when they're busted on the seam like this, they're not shelf stable. Sooner or later, they're going to give way if they haven't already. And in this situation, I think they already have. Okay? Now, I ended up phoning. I've been on the phone for a little while. I ended up phoning first. I don't know anything about number 10 cans, people, okay? I have one number 10 tin can of freeze-dried, I think it is, of food sitting up in my food storage with all the food that I have. So I don't know anything about it. So I ended up phoning some American company that sells this stuff in terms of like number 10 cans with food inside. And basically what they told me is if a can is doing that, and I even phoned this company in the States, and you're not supposed to be able to push on them. Okay? There should be no room for error. Okay? Because they suck out of the air, right? And you don't want them compromised like that. Where is it? Right here. Especially along the seam. Because it's going to breach over time. Now, the one other company, not Artisan Farms, but the other company said that there has been instances where people have had cans like this where they've opened them up and they've actually exploded and got powder all over the place, and it could potentially be serious because of the pressure. Poof, right? So I'm a little nervous to open them because I thought, well, maybe I should open them up and try and, put them into jars with an oxygen absorber and hope for the best. But before that happened, I made a few phone calls, and basically I was advised to try and get them sent back. Now the seller somehow has got it listed where it's non-refundable. Obviously the seller knew what the seller was doing because, you know, one can maybe through transport, but basically all 4 cans compromised with 3 of them dented. Like, I don't think so. They're selling defective products. So long story short, Amazon is involved and they contacted the seller and they're asking the seller to reimburse my money. They asked me if I wanted a replacement, and I said, well, ultimately that would be great, right? Assuming that, you know, I'd get proper cans, but I mean, does that seller even have quality products? Because it's obvious they're selling knockoffs. So I don't know. So I just wanted to show you, right? It's a big disappointment because I don't think I'm going to try this again, right? Because then I'm going to have to pay even more money than $82 a can. And I might run into the same problem. And apparently these, well, at least with, I don't know, there's one company that I might be able to contact to see if they have them. That's Canadian out here that I've dealt with in the past, and they're pretty good. But random sellers on Amazon selling this stuff, I don't know. Because apparently the companies, these American companies that make these products, they don't technically sell across the border because of customs and all this other crap. And because I don't go to places like Costco or whatever, not to say that this product would be at Costco's, but, you know, anyway, I'm kind of disappointed, right? Because I have to give up on my cheese powder, and I don't know if I want to stick my neck out again, and I guess we'll have to wait and see what the seller has to say. Okay, so moving along here, my battery's going to cut out here, so hold on. Okay, so anyway, I'll get back to these beans in a second. So what's happening here now is I'm getting trolled again by a fake user account. If you look here, this is a troll alert. Jamie Cartwright joined September 29th of 2021, right? As you can see, it is September 29th, 2021. So they specifically created themselves a fake user account so they can come in and make a snide little comment, right? Which I'm going to end up deleting here in a minute, right? Oh, hold on a second. So, honestly, this little comment here, I think is coming in from this individual. Because obviously, she looking, you know, she bored, right? If you notice, her last video was 2 months ago. And then, of course, Freddie died. And now she's calling Freddie her husband. Okay. She never married Freddie. So it's not her husband. Okay. She was only with him for a couple of years, people. Right? It was a game more than anything else. But we're not getting into that, okay? I think this individual here, this one right here, is looking for attention, and we know that she likes to use multiple fake user accounts. Okay? So, in light of, hold on a minute. In light of, oh, battery's dying, hold on. Okay, so in light of these beautiful beans that I bought, you can see they've been soaking. So I've decided just to use my little pot here, okay, because I kind of got distracted. So what we're going to do, I rinsed them already with fresh water, okay. I'm going to put them in here. Obviously, they're going to need more water, okay. And then I'm going to put some garlic in there, you can see. This garlic comes from the United States because here you can tell because there's the roots, which tells you that this garlic is not bleached. If it's smooth in there, then that means the garlic came from China and it's bleached. This is from the United States, and because it's got the little roots in there, it's not bleached. So, anyway, I'm going to put that in there. Okay, and then I'm going to put it on the back burner, and I'm going to cook them on low. And we're going to see what we're going to do with them. Like I said before, beans are not really my forte, but they're going to start being more in the household diet. Okay? So, in regards to this troll alert, you know, people who do food prep, they can use the number 10 can, right? In terms of they buy all the equipment and the cans, and you know, there's a certain machine that sucks the air out of them and makes it like a can. That's why those other cans have to go back to wherever they came from, because they're compromised, right? So, you know, that's a financial investment that people spend on in order to preserve their food, okay? Right? Or they use Mylar bags, okay? And then even then, you get a special little machine, your oxygen absorbers, and you know, you're spending all this money on Mylar bags, and then you gotta buy the 5-gallon buckets, and you know, and just, right? Or you do it like me. I prefer jars because they don't leach plastic toxins, right? Everything's sealed tight after you get it in there, right? But again, it's an investment, right? So when I say I spent $10,000 on food, I mean, obviously that's including jars, right? And probably factor in the cheese making paraphernalia, right? Whether it's the rennet or the container to make it, or the tofu container, or maybe the book, How to Make Cheese, in addition to the organic beans, the organic oats, the organic wheat, or whatever it was, okay? I suppose if you're a single person and you fight over a freezer, as to who gets what, half and half, right? And you gotta put it up on TikTok to, you know, make your point in terms of half that little teeny weeny freezer is yours. Then I can see why you wouldn't be concerned about preparing for any disaster, right? I mean, for someone like that, all they would need is a bug-out bag in terms of a backpack with a 3-day supply worth of food. And then, of course, they'll go on somebody else's door and say, "Let me in! Let me in! I'm hungry! I have nothing to eat!" So, you know, or it could be just a troll, right? That, you know, has nothing better to do than to criticize and to point fingers, right? Thinking that they're better than everybody else because they live in that bubble from wherever they come from within that bubble. So the point is I'm going to delete that because obviously it's a fake user account, and Tisha just in passing at the mall ran into that individual called out Tisha and said, "Hi, hi," but kept on walking because that individual knows that the whole situation is funky. And that's nobody's fault but her fault, really. And I still stand my ground, people. I still believe that that individual had a direct hand in the murder of my daughter, ShaMay. Just in light of everything that's gone on. since ShaMay. Well, even before ShaMay died. Even when ShaMay was arguing with Freddie as they were deciding whether they should continue on with their 5-year relationship or whether they should break up, they never really had a chance to figure it out on their own because they were being backstabbed and sabotaged without anybody really realizing what was going on, because the person that was doing that was planting tampons, bobby pins, and hand cream to make sure that ShaMay would find them after the fact. She kind of reminds me of my mother. My mother was the kind of woman that would jump on any kind of fucking bus if it empowered her to say that she could do it. She'd sleep with anything that had a crotch if it fancied her to say, look what I did. If your man really loved you, he wouldn't have fucked me. So I'm familiar with women like that because my mother was kind of that way, people. For whatever reason, she just couldn't seem to love herself. And she was always busy trying to prove something. Prove that she could do it. Right? So it ended up just being bus after bus after bus after bus. So, I take it all with a grain of salt, really, people. Okay? I'm good to go. Right? Like, seriously. No regrets. Absolutely none. At least I'm not fighting over a dinky fucking freezer trying to secure my half in light of, that's all I have access to, right? I'm far beyond that. Okay? So, I've been boiling these, what are these things called? Waffle maker things. Like, I'm on my 7th pot of boiling water, and it's still leaching off that wax. But I'm getting close to almost to the point where it's actually getting that color. So I'm thinking the closer it gets to that color, the more closer the wax is being removed off of the iron. So I'm hoping I don't have to boil this any much longer, right? But it's working. I tried scrubbing them, but it doesn't really work. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out, that the troll is back, right? With the harassment, So, right? Just when the shit hits the fan, whatever you do, don't come knocking on my door, man. Right? Because I'm not letting you in. You can go home and cry to your mother. Right? She got that car accident money. If that's you, with your little thumbs down and your fake user account with your snide little remarks. Right? I'm sure your mother will look after you. Right? Okay? Okay, so basically I put, I don't know, a teaspoon or so of salt in there. And then I put 3 cloves of garlic or so. No, not big ones, but anyway. And you can see that big bay leaf there, right? And this little one. Okay? Okay, so I think these things are almost done now. You can see they've changed their color, which is good. Right? Just to make waffles, okay? Right? And then I've got my beans in here. If you can see where the stove is at, just bubbling away. It smells already really, really good. Okay, this has not been cooking very long, people, and already it tastes really good. Now it's boiled, so I don't know. Did you boil off all the toxins? Is that how it works? You don't want to cook beans in a slow cooker because it doesn't get hot enough. But this has already been bubbling. And with the bay leaf in there and a little bit of salt, Oh my God, like it's so tasty. And these beans are like, they're already done. Like seriously, they're already done and they haven't even been in this pot for half an hour. Okay, that's what I'm noticing about these organic, like the same thing with the oats, right? Technically, I can't give Amari oatmeal because it's too grainy and he tends to gag on it. But the oatmeal that's organic that I bought and I cook it up with his food, I don't know, it just cooks up completely different. And he can eat it. Like, this is, it's already soft. Like, I don't need to cook this any longer. It's already done. But the thing is, this, you could make a soup with this because this broth tastes really good. Alright? So, did I boil off the toxins? I think so. Or do I have to drain the liquid and start all over again in terms of a broth? Because as it is, the broth tastes really good. So, I don't know. I might have to do some research on that. Hold on. So yeah, Tisha takes Andre out to get his ears pierced because he had a birthday, right?
Go back and listen to his interviews during the 2016 election.
Minding her own business in the mall, and she hears, "Hi, hi."
You know why the GOP
She looks up, and there's that girl just walking on by.
4 years and the censorship.
Okay, that's just a couple, 2-3 days or whatever it was ago. Not very long ago, people. And what do we get? We get a new fake user account coming in with snide fucking remarks, right?
You see, because if you really have the freedom to think and the freedom to speak, then there'd be a whole bunch of outsiders,
So,
some true
anyway,
libertarians, probably.
these beans are really nice.
Some people who would challenge the system.
You can't imagine, it was definitely worth the money.
Let's end it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? People like that.
More reason to
because it challenges
look at, like, put them away, like, long term, like, right, in terms of store them properly,
as long as
right,
they maintain
so that they
retain power. Even if it was
whatever it is that's going on in here in terms of, they're just lovely beans, right? Even the broth is good. I mean, the broth should be fine because I think what happens is, you can make bean soup, right? So,
they just want to get in the way.
The toxins, you have to cook the bean to cook off the toxins.
They themselves,
okay?
the GOP, can claim to be
and these already soaked.
And they can talk about
but it didn't take no more than, oh God, not even half an hour, 45 minutes. Right? Even if I say 45 minutes, it should have been a half an hour.
In 2017,
right? Because they're like really soft.
The first part of all of 2018, before the midterms kicked in 2019, you had power, you lousy, pathetic GOP members. You had power, and what did you do with it? What you did nothing.
They're so soft.
Tax cuts.
Right.
That was the only thing you did.
Look at that.
You didn't address censorship. You didn't
address they're so good.
Political discrimination.
I can't imagine. It's so good. Like, it's just delicious.
Trump's been trying.
Okay, so now I'm gonna bag up this. You can see. Okay, so this is like really messy. This powder is so fine. It's nothing like you buy in a grocery store. That's for sure. I can tell you that right now. And it's very, very, very fine. You can't hit it too much, otherwise it's going to poof up. So you kind of want to compact it a little bit in there, right? Yeah, this is really fine. And then you'll see. You see?
We realized that they tested positive for COVID, so they have been taken off the show.
This is why
because the vice president is here now.
You want to buy them already pre-packaged. Maybe. Depends. Depends on how much they increase in price over the course of the next year. If you're going to replenish. right? See, look how dusty this is. Everything's going to have to be wiped out.
Into campaigns this decade.
What a mess.
Conservatives. The Soros-occupied State Department.
The Democrats, George Soros.
George Soros. He's also a philanthropist and born in Hungary, a naturalized U.S. citizen. Well respected.
Oh, well.
In many other countries.
Series as they
Okay, so this milk powder is completely different than what you buy in a grocery store. Okay, that's the first thing I'm noticing. The second thing is, I'm actually glad that I've done this because, you know, right? Got to write that cookbook for Amari, right? So I'm thinking, and I'm going to show you what I'm thinking in a little while. Hold on. Okay, so I wipe them down. I'll have to wipe them down again after, right? Just getting them ready, right? And then I'm going to put a moisture absorber. There's moisture in the air, right? And then I'm going to vacuum seal. Those are tomatoes, right, from the other day. That's 4 more jars, so that's good. Hold on. Okay, people.
Maybe I don't get a lot of views, but I got a lot of videos, and this is just the tip of the iceberg coming because I do believe that my nonprofit is going to go national. I do believe my nonprofit
What's happening
is
here
going to go
is,
international.
even though
so
YouTube,
I think it's just a matter of time, right?
Even though
YouTube, some of this stuff, changes.
Gave me back my channel. Okay, can you see what's going on here? They're still shadow banning my videos, people. Okay, you can see where I'm at right now. I started a new playlist. Well, I'm not started a new playlist. I'm working on my playlists, okay? And as I'm working on my playlists, I'm watching the videos, right? And they're lagging. And going around and around and around and around. Like, what the heck is that, people? Seriously. Okay? That's shadow banning. What number is this one? Number 4. Okay. It's there, I think. Looks like there's 4 there. Right? And from 2012, and it keeps breaking up because they've got me on low bandwidth. They're bringing me in at, look at this. Look at the bandwidth that they're bringing me in on. A 360. Right? No wonder why it's lagging, people. But even if it's at a 480, they're still lagging.
Changes
it makes me want to write that CEO of Google.
Direction, and more people get involved, and it gets more complicated. But at the end of the day, if I had the money to pay for a universal, there it is, right? If at the end of the day, if I had the money to pay for a universal licensing fee, I would.
This one really needs to go underneath. YouTube gets their own channel. See, I'm bringing this up. They copyrighted number 40. I think there's a couple of other ones in there that are copyrighted. Anyway, I'm going to put that under YouTube gets its own playlist as well, because like I said, that was one reason why I slowed down and kind of stopped doing park events or just events in general. It just was so nerve-wracking. right? In terms of having to come back and upload and deal with all the stuff I was going through, right? Does not look familiar.
I would do that, but I don't. You know, there's two of them. They've capped two of them as blocked in some countries. You know, so
Oh boy.
Okay, and then what?
Okay.
I'm gonna go in there with bobcats and and they're building a little playground in there and kids running around on a Sunday, like Sunday morning. All exhaust myself. My crew gets exhausted. Walk out.
This is what I want you to see, people. Like, seriously, they do this through all my videos, old videos. Like, right? Go into my videos and you'll see me talking about this and showing you how YouTube shadow bans my channel. This is exactly what this shit is.
These people that say they own things, they sure the hell aren't stepping up to the plate, but the kids are having a good time, and that's why we do it, right? It's not like I can put it up on YouTube to show the kids.
I'm kind of laughing at myself.
We came back in 2012. We're pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We're trying to make it. We're trying to make it happen again.
Judy,
and what?
You think you don't have the gift of the
gab?
but
It's bad enough that they're hijacking my damn page and gonna make it look like this. Look at this crap. This looks like shit, right? I don't know whose page it is, but anyway, it just takes you over there. Some other page.
See? Do you see? YouTube has like a serious hard-on for me. Oh my God. I thought when they gave me back my channel and they reinstated that video for my main page, I was so happy. You can't imagine how happy I was. So I thought that maybe they corrected this problem too. But obviously it's not, because it's September 30th, 2021, and it's still going around and around and around and around with the resolution as low as it could possibly be. This video deteriorates over a period of time.
Right? So they can keep me in check.
They keep lowering the bandwidth on it.
It's like the fucking city councilors and the politicians. Sure, just pay. Go out there and, do positive things, but don't expect us to help you.
Oh my Lord.
Find your own fucking way, right?
I'm listening to this.
If you can't pull yourself up and do it for yourself, then, just move on over, because, we got our own thing going on.
2012 people, and I'm still bitching.
Anyway.
Can you imagine that? If it's not bitching on one thing, it's bitching on something else.
Right?
Okay? That's why I'm building up my playlist.
I think we should put a fucking blockade on this shit.
As a reference
we should go find ourselves a lawyer.
The different quote-unquote crises in life.
What for?
Because they come from different venues.
If YouTube's getting pressure from some fucking politician sitting up in some Congress, then fucking sue the politicians.
Oh, that's just too funny. Okay, people, I'm having a blast here. I really am. Like, this is... I don't know. This is funny. Anyway, I'm reading something that I wrote a long time ago. As I'm going through my channel Wiped Out. Anyway, I'm going to read this because I read it and I'm like, wow, did you write that? That's deep. Okay. Affordable housings equals affordable housing equals more than just half of someone's life. For without shelter, the spirit is left in a cold zone of limited possibilities. Provide a house, and life takes a new turn to where we can see the belief system in the word called change. I wrote that, people. Like, serious. Like, that's so cool. Anyway, I didn't read this one yet. This is what I was trying to work on in 2012, okay? What if a home was purchased in Detroit to give one person a fighting chance to ward off homelessness in the wake of state and federal financial chaos? Because, there was a housing crisis back in those days, right? With Detroit being depleted of its workforce because the manufacture industry went overseas, right? So what once was a bustling city ended up becoming you know, I don't want to say desolate, but on the road to desolation, right? With a lot of homeless people as a result of that. Would that begin to set the precedence towards moving away from a spiral down? Would one house helping one person set the precedence to stop the spiraling down? Anyway.
States, and over the course of years with the Industrial Revolution taking a turn towards the technical.
Oh, I was putting in
paradigm
hard
shift,
days,
right?
those days, 16, 18
lot of
hours
the
a day. Honest to God.
Manufacturing
Between Uncle John and Auntie Joan,
either
Ciera was
just
here, and
pulled it
Andre
up
was
and
born,
didn't
and
manufacture
kids in and
anymore,
out,
or, a lot of jobs.
My Lord. The
and,
yard,
the
the
factories
yard
moved
people,
to,
the
overseas
yard,
because of
right?
blah blah blah, and then people didn't
you can
need to
really
manufacture
hear it. I was
license
tired
plates
in those
because
days,
the
just
prison
with my
industrial
voice, right?
complex exploded, and so it was chipped away, and people started to leave the state in terms of who had money, and so now
talk about going down memory lane.
my connection with I gotta keep track of this time, right? Okay, so we'll move this up.
In those days,
I know it
I
doesn't
think
take
you were
that
only
long
allowed
read,
to
right?
upload
Sorry.
no more than 15
My
minutes.
connection with Detroit,
That's why I had to
Michigan,
keep track of time.
is actually in the
Right?
heart of
You weren't-
Lansing,
you weren't allowed to
where
do any
Malcolm
more than a
X,
15-minute
kind of
video.
came from, up and around those
Right?
parts, and via through his sister Yvonne Little, right? And that started back in 2003 when I moved into my shanty shack.
Here's another thing I wrote. Let's see what I wrote. Classism is linked to institutional racism, where color lines become one with poverty. That is so true, people. Yet collective peoples still fail to come together to provide equality, and therefore institutional racism remains above classism. So, who dares to admit the truth? I'd have to think about that one.
Actually, no, that's not true. It started before then. 2001, I think that's when we had our first...
Oh, wow. Yep, people, I don't know what I've been thinking all these years.
2001, I think that's when we had our first event in honor of Malcolm X. And yes, because I rented a hall in New Westminster, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I had food for days, and she sent me some posters.
That's Malcolm X's sister sent me some posters.
And some magnets, and some
magnets of Malcolm X, that is.
Stamps, and she sent me quite a few little things in the mail for this event, and but that was the initial 2001, right after Gordon Campbell kind of came in, or was coming in. It was around the same time.
Oh, Gordon Campbell just ruined everything, people.
And so anyway, that's my connection. It goes, right to the root, right? And
right to the root, eh?
We are living proof.
I sure miss the old YouTube formatting.
It lowers taxes and it reduces spending.
I really, really do.
Private sector growth.
It was like so classic.
When Washington interfered,
one of the best
proven approaches.
He was trying to run for president.
Video
the Republican Party
formats.
But I don't think he made it.
I've never seen anything better than the way they had this outlaid.
And being governor is a pretty powerful position.
He once said, Texas has yet to learn submission.
I can't remember what these are called.
Come from what source it may.
Right?
I know there's more that he could do for the poor people in his state.
Then, we don't like oppression now.
I guess this is around the Tea Party time.
Tea Party.
Yeah,
Tea Party. After all this time, whatever happened to the Tea Party?
Our rights being taken away.
Oh, doesn't that sound familiar in 2021?
We are part of a movement that is growing, that is gaining strength, that is building momentum, and we will not be ignored.
Excuse me. So I think that's pretty, people politics, right?
I still like this man. He's my buddy. He's my American buddy.
And I don't think I'm being biased on this one. I think I'm being fair, right? Somebody's got a voice in that party out there on my channel, right? It just so happens, like I said, I sent this fella a care package, right? And I do agree in local autonomy, even if it's on a state level, right? So I can appreciate what he's saying there.
Washington needs to hear us loud and clear.
I don't know how he feels about the Occupy Wall Street movement,
Shrink the government, reread the Constitution, and return to its values and the precepts that made this country great. Do this, and this nation will remain strong. I want to thank you for your courage, thank you for being here today, and thank you for your passion. God bless you.
I wonder if that's still in my playlist.
Go down a little further.
I'm going to look. It's under People
DC
Politics.
prospers while rest of America suffers.
So many videos have been removed from the playlist. It's pathetic.
You got to hear it from that point of view, and from a professional that is elected to represent, the people of Texas. And, Texas actually has quite a bit of problems. They not only do they have, an influx of Mexicans crossing the border, doing what they do. There's pockets of poverty there that still kind of align itself with, institutional racism where the resources aren't going into those communities and
living in poverty.
Yeah.
According to new figures put out
So let's see what this one has. This is RT, Russia Today.
Millions of Americans are
All
unemployed
right.
and living on food stamps.
And
At least one place where people are prospering. It's right
political
here in Washington,
politics. This is people politics.
People Politics.
Across the United States, unemployment
Necessarily
Kinda
have
makes
to
you
hear it
wonder
from
what
me,
was going back
stumbling
on
over
in
my words
2012.
when you can just come to my channel. I have to hold it here for a minute because I'm downloading. Remember, and this computer needs to go and get fixed.
These
But,
were uploaded in 2012.
versus me having to
people.
sit
That
there
was
and
like
write,
9
a
years ago.
10-page essay,
Pushing
or
on 10 years ago.
ramble on to try and convince you that there's this problem out there. It's nice just to be able to click on the video and take a peek and, again, formulate your own opinion. So let's see what this one has to say.
But there is one special place that remains untouched. Welcome to Washington, D.C. The city full of power players, pundits, and politicians outpaced nearly every other city in the country when it came to
I wonder
job
what
growth
it's like
this past
now.
year. One thing is sure.